Hello everybody and welcome back. Today we've got a couple guitars to talk about. Hello, thanks so much for watching. Today we're talking about what is the difference between a steel string guitar and a nylon string guitar. Now this is a question that I got a lot when I worked in a guitar shop, which was, what are the differences, or can I put steel strings on a nylon string guitar, or can I put nylon strings on a steel string guitar? There was always a lot of confusion about what the differences were. So today I just wanted to make a video that would lay out what the differences are in terms of construction, as well as give you an example of what the differences are in how they sound. So let's dive right into it. There are 5 main differences between a steel string guitar and a nylon string guitar. The first difference between the two has to do with nut width. Now this white piece right here is called our nut, and what the nut width affects is string spacing primarily. If you have a wider nut, your strings will be spaced further apart. On steel string acoustic guitars, the nut width is generally about 1 11/16 inches to 1 3/4 of an inch thick. Whereas on a nylon string guitar, they sit generally around 1 7/8 of an inch, or just under 2 inches thick. That eighth of an inch may not seem like much, but it does make a big difference in terms of playability. You can see when I hold them up side by side that there is a significant difference in the width of the two nuts. The next difference in construction has to do with our fretboards. The fretboard on a steel string guitar is what we would call a radiused fretboard. In the simplest of terms, what that means is that the fretboard has a slight curve to it, or arch to it. On a nylon string guitar, the fretboard is actually not radiused at all, and it is completely flat. The next difference has to do with the bridge, specifically the saddle. You'll notice that the saddle on the steel string has a slight angle to it, meaning that the bass side is slightly lower than the treble side is a little bit higher. On a nylon string guitar, you'll see that the saddle is completely flat. The next difference has to do specifically with the strings. Now we know obviously that a steel string guitar has steel strings on it, and a nylon string guitar has nylon strings on it. However, what this means in a more practical circumstance are that the nylon strings are a lot softer to press down with your left hand than the steel strings. The steel strings can be a little sharper because they are thinner. They are also under higher tension as steel strings, meaning that there is more tautness on the actual steel strings than there are on nylon strings. This leads us directly into that 5th difference, which is that they are braced differently. For those of you who are unaware, underneath the top of the guitar, there are actually a bunch of different cross sections and pieces of wood that are meant to support the top of your guitar. That's what we call our bracing. A nylon string guitar is inherently braced differently than a steel string guitar. The bracing is the main reason why it's really not a good idea to put steel strings on a nylon string guitar. The bracing on a nylon string guitar isn't set up to withstand the amount of tension that comes from steel strings. In addition to that, the issue of the saddle being different and the fretboards being different actually causes an issue with intonation as we move up and down the fretboard, meaning your guitar will be less likely to stay in tune. Those are the 5 main differences. Now we get into the gray area things that are generally different, but there's a little bit more room for variation. Like for instance, a nylon string guitar typically has what we call a slotted headstock, meaning that there are these slots here in the headstock where the strings are tied around the tuning pegs. However, in recent years, we have seen a handful more steel string guitars being built with slotted headstocks. Specifically, Taylor Guitars has been doing this. In addition to that, nylon string guitars are typically this size. They are a very standard size. Now, again, in recent years, there have been more modern takes on it. The steel string guitar can come in a wide variety of body shapes. Again, these are not hard and fast rules like our initial 5 rules, but they are general rules that you see in nylon and steel string guitars. Now, let's take a listen at what they sound like. There are many pros and cons between the two. I know a lot of people prefer to use a nylon string when starting out because it is easier on their fingers, but steel strings are significantly more versatile, and there's a big part of me that says you might as well dive into the hard thing first, so that when you do start working on a nylon string, you can work on what it's actually intended for, those specific genres like flamenco or classical guitar. The wider range and body sizes make it so that you can find a steel string that probably fits your body a little bit better, which is nice. But there is just something about a nylon string guitar. The softness and the gentleness of the tone, and the fact that the string spacing is a little wider, which makes it so that it's easier to bar on. There's really pros and cons to both sides. If you're new to guitar, I recommend you try them both out and see which one you like. For those of us who are veteran players and are always 2 guitars away from having every guitar we'll ever need, make it one of the next 2. They're a lot of fun, and they give you some interesting textures. Which do you prefer, steel string or nylon string? What are some of your favorite nylon or steel string guitar songs? Let me know down in the comments below. My name is Mac Wright. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please go make someone else's day better. Remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you around.